We'll go ahead and begin. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. Just to warn the panel in advance, we have a microphone and we'll just pass it. It's very cute and charming. So this is the part of the First Friday's Colloquium series. This is the Social Justice and Cultural Studies major. It's a new major from this year. Raise your hand if you're part of the Social Justice major. Yay! Woohoo! Thank you for coming. And then also I have students here from my international fiction, perhaps? Anyone from international fiction? Woohoo! And then Morocco, Spain, study abroad. Woohoo! Thank you. And of course, everyone is welcome. And Dr. Walters, thank you for coming. She teaches Middle Eastern history. Yay! So we have... This is an important event today. This is part of the series. We have one last one in May with Dr. Bailey coming to speak. This panel is near and dear to my heart. We went to Iraq for my sabbatical about 5 years ago and met wonderful friends, a lot of Syrian middle-class women who had come over. No, they're not in the refugee camps. They were working in northern Iraq when I was there, but the political situation was challenging, so eventually we had to leave. And I felt a real sense of betrayal because it was so easy for me to come to the United States. So easy for me to pull out that blue passport. And our doors have been shut. With the Muslim ban, we are shutting the doors. With the walls, we are shutting the doors. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be subtle here. No more. No more. So we came back, and I was discouraged. And Annika, where's my daughter? Is she here? She's like, I'm going to kill you afterwards. This is my daughter, Annika. We came back from northern Iraq, and it was a real challenge because she had just left one of her best friends, and her best friend's uncle was in prison in Syria, and things were really challenging. She came forward to tell her story, and all of us were overwhelmed being back in the States because no one seemed to care. We were at this event, and there was this extraordinary woman. She had all this passion and energy and drive, and she goes right down on Annika's eye level and says, when you're ready to go for political office, you call me. This extraordinary woman has formed MAPS Amen, and this is an American Muslim empowerment network. And so it is my greatest pleasure and honor to work with her and collaborate with her and to know her. And so I just want to introduce to you Anila. So we have some pamphlets from the social justice major that we'll be passing out if you're interested in seeing that. And then I hope you enjoy the panel. Here's the cute little mic.
Got it, okay.
I can either pin it or...
No, this is okay. I'll use it like this. Okay, hello everybody. Thank you so much to all of you for being here. Thank you to Professor Kim Segal for being part of this partnership and really standing for justice so firmly, so strongly, and doing whatever she can in her own family even, to the point that her daughter is such an incredible candidate for office almost already. I am so excited to support her and will always be there to support her as soon as she's ready. But it has been such a wonderful experience to get to partner with Professor Segal and be able to work on sort of helping people build bridges of understanding, of unity, of getting to know one another. Because unfortunately, there's a whole Islamophobia industry that is spreading a narrative of fear and divisiveness. And the I can't even talk. The unfortunate part is also that the majority of our fellow Americans do not personally know a Muslim and do not know much about Islam. And that's a recipe for disaster because it allows for all that misinformation and the propaganda and dehumanization machinery to have an impact on people's sort of views. And that's why we really wanted to give you all an opportunity to just get to know some local American Muslim women. We don't necessarily have anything planned here. They're all going to speak for a little bit, introduce themselves, and then we'll just do some questions. And it's really just an opportunity for you to ask what might be on your mind, hear some stories of sort of what they're experiencing right now, or any other stories that they might want to share. The panel consists of these four amazing women, along with one other person who is parking right now, so she will join us too very shortly. But I do want to just quickly introduce all of them, but I will give them each a chance to talk a little bit further about themselves. Sorry. I'll start over there with Michaela Corning, who is a Washington native and has been Muslim for 20 years. She's the founder and CEO of a modest fashion brand that she started in the year 2000. That's why she's the most stylish. She also spent 20 years in corporate America, primarily in business management consulting. And she says, most importantly, she's a cat lady. So that's important to know. Next, we have Nashwa Zafar, who is originally from Dallas, Texas. She is the daughter of Pakistani immigrants. She's an active member of the Muslim community, and she said that the New York Daily does not call her wonderfully witty, highly entertaining, and simply brilliant. We can call her that, though. Next, we have Suad Farol, who is a proud American Muslim woman. Suad is a mother, a doula, community advocate. You can ask her about that, and a community activist in general. She is originally from Somalia, and she escaped the war there as a refugee, and she seeks to give back to others in the community every day through the work that she does. And then we have Miyase. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because I might say it wrong, so let me have you say it.
Kadirjolu.
There you go. You see why I didn't try that? No. So Miyase is a German language teacher who also taught at the Islamic School of Upper Westchester Weekend School for 14 years, and she served as assistant principal there for 3 years. Miyase graduated from the University of Washington with a Master of Social Work degree in 2018, and she's currently enrolled in a certification program to become a diversity executive. And then Zarbi, who will be here in a little bit, she's going to tell her own story, so I'll leave that to her when she gets here. I will let you all know that I myself am a recovering attorney. I left my legal career 6 years ago after I had a spiritual transformation in order to do this kind of work, to respond to the increasing divisiveness that I was seeing in our country, the increasing hate and even violence. And I've been very blessed to be able to work with so many incredible people on the front lines of standing firmly for justice for all. And that's the work that I do today, including through AMEN, the American Muslim Empowerment Network. And I'm always in awe, and I always love it when I come to campuses, when I come and get to meet with students. Because you guys just bring a different sense of energy. You guys just have a different sense of commitment. You all give me hope for the future of our country. So I thank you all for being here, for giving us this space and allowing us to share some of our stories. And thank you again to Professor Segal. And we'll go ahead and get started with everybody sharing their stories. We'll do this for about, the whole panel will be for about an hour or so. And that will include time for Q&A for you guys as well. So please think of whatever questions you might have and that you might want answered. So were you using this then? Yes. Yeah, okay.
Oh, am I starting?
Yes.
Oh, I was gonna say, well, who do you guys want? Let's take a vote? No, I'm kidding.
I'm like dying to be first. I guess I'll go first.
You go first.
Make sure. Everybody hear me? Does this even work?
Yes.
So I'll give you guys a little bit of background about who I am. Unlike, I think, most of the sisters on the panel today, I actually converted to Islam 20 years ago. I'm a Washington native, born and raised here. My family comes from, I wouldn't say probably upper middle class, but very, I think, salt of the earth kind of background. My grandfather was a logger in construction, so really like hands-on kind of people. My family is half Catholic, half Lutheran Presbyterian. And in fact, when I think about my journey to Islam, so I became Muslim in 1999. So this is like pre-social media, pre-interwebs, not to quote George Bush, but he has said a few funny things in the past. And I mean, my transformation or sort of journey to Islam was very different, I think, than a lot of people's because I came from a non-Muslim family. It was before there was a lot of information about the religion. And so it was interesting in sitting in this class, like I was telling the professor that I'm having like a little bit of PTSD from college days. I graduated from University of Washington. I have an undergrad in Spanish. I have another BA in linguistics. And I just love the fact that actually this is a social justice class. Like, it was controversial that I had a linguistics degree, just so you guys, like mid-90s, Noam Chomsky, like I didn't even know he was a social justice person. He's the grandfather of linguistics. So after I became Muslim, I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. He is very pro-Palestine. And anyways, you guys can look him up if you don't know who he is. But in sitting in this class, like this is literally, if I think about my sort of transition and interest in Islam, my second sort of pivotal point in my life, in fact, was sitting in a class just like this, learning from people that were Muslim. It was actually a guy who was a convert himself. And it really, I mean, aside from, becoming a Muslim, I think that it really opened my eyes as a white American person who thought I was progressive, thought I was open-minded, that I really wasn't. And I had a lot of preconceived notions about a group of people that were wrong. And not only that, but also thinking back, there were things that, just perspectives on things that I viewed through my sort of Judeo-Christian lens that were not accurate about things in Islam or about Muslims. And one thing that he talked about, aside from the theology of the religion, was about hijab. And I had a very specific perspective as an American woman who wasn't Muslim about the hijab. And he literally like blew my mind open. Like, oh, wait, like just because I think something represents whatever it might represent in my head does not mean it's right or accurate. So anyways, I'm literally having this little moment here, looking at you guys and thinking, wow, I actually was in your seat in 1996 in a Middle Eastern history class learning about what you guys are learning about. So I just applaud you for being here, and it's super exciting and awesome. Do you have I thought you raised your hand, Anila. Okay. So, when I was preparing for this sort of conversation, if you will, a couple sort of themes came up, like how has Islam like transformed your life? Like what positive things has the religion brought to me? And the other thing was about sort of Islamophobia. And what's interesting is I started wearing hijab about 6 months before 9/11. And this political climate, many of you, I don't know, were probably like maybe not even a twinkle in your dad's eye at that time, that the political climate now in a lot of ways scares me way more than living through backlash of 9/11. And that's the first thing that comes to my mind when Anila asked me to come today, is that I lived and breathed that. I was a practicing Muslim. I'd only been Muslim for a very short period of time. I'd only been wearing hijab for 6 months. And I will say that we had backlash. Someone tried to burn down the mosque in my neighborhood, literally, and tried to shoot people coming out of the mosque. And that's why the Christian Peace Coalition was created, was to protect the mosques. And it started here and blew up. That was a very bad pun, maybe. It expanded, and that was because of the Northgate Mosque incident. But what's different is that at that time, George Bush was president, and he spoke out against Islamophobia. Maybe he didn't call it that, but he said, these are our Muslim, Americans, blah, blah, blah. We're not getting that from our current president. And that's what's very, very frightening, and it's emboldening people. So that was my initial thought. And are you timekeeper? You are, okay. So do I have 5 minutes?
Do it the opposite.
Okay.
You have about 15 seconds.
Okay. Maybe I just revert to Zumba now. Is everyone ready for single, double, double? Okay. So I'll be really quick. And the transformation piece, I would say, we could, if you want to learn about my conversion story, I was interviewed by a media company in Saudi Arabia. So if you go to YouTube and you search my name, Michaela Corning, you'll get like 7 different interviews about my exact conversion story, if that interests you. But just high level, if I think about sort of my transformation as a Muslim and what I gained from becoming Muslim that maybe was lacking in my life or gave me some direction. One, it had an immediate, despite my own family's misunderstandings about Islam, it had an immediate impact, positive impact on my relationships with my family through forgiveness and accepting that I came to this place, for a reason, and whatever grudges I held, holding my family on, Islamically, we're supposed to keep our family very, high. And it says in the Quran many times, obey God, obey your parents. And so I really took that to heart. And so that's one thing that that helped me a ton. Also helped me weed out toxic friends. I think when you're in college, you have a lot of friends, and a lot of those people are really, frankly, just fair-weathered friends. And when you make a transformation, like becoming a Muslim, for example, you find out really quick who your friends are and who they aren't. I haven't drank alcohol or taken drugs in over 20 years. And although I don't think I abused those things at that time, I personally have alcoholism in my family. And I look at people in my family, like my father and others, and I think, yeah, they might lead relatively good lives, but they could have led a lot better lives without drugs and alcohol. And then the last thing is that, honestly, being a Muslim and also wearing hijab, believe it or not, has made me a lot more confident as a person. And I'm telling you, if you can walk out in society with a hijab on in Western society, you can pretty much do anything. So I'll end on that note.
Sorry, I just want to put stuff down. I'm prone to dropping, so. And clumsiness, I guess. Yeah? It's because I like, Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. So, I remember when I was in the 3rd grade, we were running for class elections. And this guy that was running for president told everybody to stand up and made them move around. And he said that the reason that he was doing that was because his dad, who's a politician, told him that if you get people moving, it makes them pay attention to you more. And he ended up winning, but I don't know if that's why, but basically I'm gonna need you to stand up. Okay. It's nothing, we're not doing any exercises because I wouldn't do that. That's not my job. The lady wearing the muscly shirt, that's her job. So it's a very quick question, which we could have done raising our hands, but why? Like, your bodies are much better. So my question basically is, if you were born and raised or born and existed in Washington, please stay standing. Everybody else take a seat. Oh, okay, great. So I just moved to Seattle, like, it's about to be a year, and I have yet to find, like, Washington natives. So this is refreshing. Thank you. Like, this is great. It's great to meet you guys. So you can have a seat, but so how many of us, just by a show of hands, how many of you guys were raised in the United States or born in the United States? Brilliant. Okay, so here's where I want to start, right? The other day I was talking to my coworkers, and we came across an issue that I realized isn't a common thing within people outside of my cultural background. So I wanted to see, like, is this a common thing or not? Maybe it's just my coworkers are a very specific niche. So raise your hand if in school, whenever you were in like elementary school, you had to do the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning. Okay, great. Just to clarify, to the flag of the United States, right? Okay, great. So in Texas, we get up, we start our mornings by doing the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States. After that's done, we face the other direction where the Texas flag is, and we do a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of Texas. Do you guys have a flag of Washington / do you even do a pledge? Like, is that a thing? Okay, great. So just to give you a hindsight, when I'm referring to my cultural background, it's as a Texan. Because my coworkers were like, what? Like, you guys did the Pledge of Allegiance to the Texas flag? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, we just have a lot of pride, like, and I'm not mad about it. So yeah, I thought that was interesting that, like, living in Seattle, the thing that made me weird was the fact that I was a Texan. So that's refreshing. So yes, basically, as you've kind of heard, I grew up in Dallas. My family's still there. I visit as often as I can because I'd be kicked out of my home if I didn't visit as often. We moved at a time where there was a very small Muslim community in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And basically, since I grew up there, I didn't really know my extended family too well. So the people that we met there became kind of like our family. The first mosque in Dallas was actually an abandoned laundromat. So we all used to kind of go in there, pray there. I was very little and my friends were very little, so we went to Sunday school there as well. And Sunday school, with all the fun Sunday school things, eventually the only thing that mattered was at the end of the day we got to eat pizza. And so, you know, like we'd all come around and spread like this lovely plastic tarp, very elegant, and eat cheese pizza. So basically, I grew up with people that I don't have any blood relations with, aside from my family, of course. And basically everything that we did growing up became what I came to know as my culture and my tradition. Obviously, my family is from Pakistan, so we do have actual cultural things, but you know, Texas and the way that we grew up as Muslims within that area became a huge part of my life. The biggest part was during the month of Ramadan. Now, just by show of hands, do you guys know what the month of Ramadan is, or have we heard of it? Cool, so let's just summarize real quick. I think it's kind of like Lent. Are we aware of Lent? Is that more familiar? Cool. So a very specific definition is Ramadan is a month where Muslims abstain from food and drink every day from sunrise to sunset. And through fasting, Muslims kind of take advantage of that period when they're not eating to learn self-control, have gratitude and compassion towards their friends and family and their community, and then also use that time to rejuvenate themselves spiritually and spend more time in devotion. If you have more questions about Ramadan, we can talk afterwards. But basically, the reason why Ramadan in Texas is such a big deal is because we kind of didn't grow up in a Muslim predominant country, so we kind of had to make our own traditions. And one of the biggest traditions during the month of Ramadan is to go to this very international exclusive restaurant called IHOP. Have you heard of it? So this is what we did. IHOP is a 24-hour facility, yes? So this works in our favor because we're eating at very odd hours. We basically are able to eat from like 8 p.m. to like 3, 4, 5 a.m. So IHOP is the only thing that's open at that hour, and breakfast food is the superior food. So obviously we are there. Here's the fun part, right? A lot of us started showing up to IHOP so often that the staff became very concerned to why so many Muslim people were showing up at these weird hours. So we had to tell them about, hey, like this is what Ramadan is. This is our, time period. We kind of really need to drink a lot of water to prevent, like dehydration. So maybe like have jugs out ready to go. Like, we have a very strict time period on when we can eat, when we cannot. So if you could accommodate that, that would be great. From that year onwards, now it's been like 5 or 6 years, IHOP, my local IHOP, the staff knows to hire more people during that month because they know what a time crunch we're on, and jugs are lined up on tables filled with water just to accommodate us. So literally people will walk in and you'll see them chugging jugs of water. It's great. But aside from that, it basically, like Ramadan, because we're so focused on, spiritually growing and getting to know the community around us, we met with a lot of different people within our community. We had our Lutheran brothers and sisters join us in fasting one day, and we would do a lot of charity work. So we'd go to downtown and pass out meals and visit nursing homes, and it's really fun to play bingo with the elderly, especially when you are fasting and they have no idea what's going on, but they're like, why are these Muslims in this facility? And it's really fun. So that's kind of my definition of growing up as a Texan Muslim. Now, with the time that we spend fasting during the month of Ramadan, it kind of it reminds you to be a better person overall, and that definition of being a better person feeds directly into being a better Muslim, which then in turn feeds into being a good American. So by fasting and taking part in all the activities that we do during the month of Ramadan, we're overall archingly benefiting everybody as a whole. Like it feeds into everything that we are as American Muslims. So just a quick sidebar here's another fun story. When I first started undergrad, I know I'm going way over time, I'm so sorry. When I first started undergrad, I found out that a lot of the universities within Texas have Muslim student associations, as we probably do here. Maybe, I don't know. So during the month of Ramadan, I learned that those universities would have big iftars, which is when everybody comes to break their fast together. So my friends and I decided that it'd be fun to go visit one of those universities once. So we went, and there was a lot of people there, big, huge community, and it was the University of Texas in Austin, the big one. So when we got there, it was my first university, seeing a college student be so prominent and vocal within their community. And the first 2 words that she said held on to me so tightly. Like, I resonated with that, and I feel like that's something I want published all over. Like, I need it as a stamp. I need it to be something official in Texas. All she said when she got up on stage was, "Salam, y'all." And my head exploded, and I took that and I ran with it. I was like, yes, salam y'all times 5,000. Like, this is me. Like, literally by saying that, she made it 100% okay to be a Muslim and a Texan, which was, it's such a weird, parallel of that. But the relevancy of all this is, it's weird to me now seeing in the media of people saying that being a Muslim is being un-American, where Islam tells you that whatever country that you live in, that's the rules that you have to abide by. And if you don't abide by those rules, you're not you're not following the rules of Islam. And if I follow those rules, I'm just asking for my basic rights as an American. So as we all know, in the Constitution, I have the right to, religious freedom. And if I'm following those rights, I am being a better Muslim. I am asking for the minimum decency as an American, and overall just exercising my right as an American, as are all of us, right? So basically, long story short, salam y'all. My name is Nashwa, and I am a proud Muslim American, and I am very grateful that you are here to listen to my story.
How can I top that? You cannot. No, I know. Can you guys hear me? How can I top that?
Do you want to stand?
No, I don't want to stand.
Why?
I like sitting down so I can see everybody. I don't want to be the tall giraffe one who's standing in the room. Hello, everybody. My name is Suad, and I'm from Somalia originally. I am a mother. I have 3 children, and I'm a fan of Seahawks. Yeah. You cannot live in Seattle and not love the Seahawks. Yeah, you're from Texas, so you're different.
We won't talk about it. It's a sensitive topic.
Let's not.
Let's not go there.
There's gonna be a fight. Well, mashallah.
No fights.
Yes. So I'm so proud to be here today. When I got here and I saw all the students coming in, I told Anila, I said, I was nervous because I thought it was another audience. But the students, I teach them every day. I'm a community member, so I teach parenting/teen classes. So when I saw the students coming in, I was like, oh, okay, it's just the students. I know their language. Number 1, I have a teenager. And number 2, I work with a lot of teenagers in the community, so I'm good. Yes. So, we are a Seahawks fan. My son plays football at Rainier Beach High School. He's a senior, graduating this year. Going to UCLA next year as a wide receiver. Yay! Awesome. I am a very proud mom. Yes, I am. And I'm also a very proud American Muslim. I came from a big family. I came from a family of 7 daughters. My parent has 7 daughters. Very religious home, very strict, and education. I remember when we first came to America in 1993, my father sat us all down in a big circle, and he said, listen, this is America, right? Yeah. Education is a key to success in life. That is stuck with me. And he was like, listen, if you're not going to school, you're not going to stay home. I'm going to send you back to the country. And that was it. and successfully. My younger sister today also, she's a UCLA doing her doctoral degree as a political science. Her name is Sophia. So I'm American born, raised in Seattle, Washington. Yes. Convert, yes. And he's also a football coach, by the way. That's why I happen to love football, because I was like, when I met my husband, and after we got married, this guy would watch Sunday football all day long, and I'll be shopping. I will do shopping. And then I realized, I'm like, why do I have to shop? Why can't I just sit next to him and eat all of this food that I cooked it for him all day long and just spend the time with my husband? So then I began to like the game. So I'm a football fan now. But what I want to share it with you today is something that really have changed and tested my faith. 8 years ago, I had my last child. I developed a PTSD, but it didn't get treated then because I did not know what I had it. Until 2 years in, then I was diagnosed with postpartum depression / endometriosis. How many of you know endometriosis? Okay, good. We're good. If you don't know, Google it. It's horrible. It happens to, I think, 45% of women. I think. I'm not sure. But so when I diagnosed with that, I had 3 surgeries. And then my doctors put me on painkillers. So I got hooked up in Percocet, and I was on it for 2 years, not knowing I would become addictive to Percocet. So Percocet has robbed my life those 2 years. I lost my job, almost lost my family, my marriage, everything. So one day when I discovered I was in a big trouble, I gathered my family and I said, guys, listen, I'm in trouble. This is what's happening. They say, okay, we're going to beat this together. It was not your fault. You didn't go on the streets and got Percocet yourself. It was put on by your doctors, by the people who you trusted the most, which we all know today in America, number one killer is what? Addiction. So then I got to a facility where I was supposed to do my withdrawals. 2 days in, I felt like I was paralyzed, like literally, spiritually, I was broken, physically and emotionally. I remember one night waking up in my room, and the moon was, it was like a fall. The moon was right above my window, and the window was wide open. And I sat in my bed, and I cried. And I said, God, why me? I couldn't give answer to myself. So then I remember this verse in the Quran. I know how to say Arabic, but I don't know how to say English, but I did took a note. So I remember this verse in the Quran. I don't know why I remember that time, but it goes like this. Let me see, bear with me. It goes like this. It says, verily, in the remembrance of Allah, which is God, do hearts find peace. It's Quran chapter 13, verse 28. So at that time when I remember my Creator, my heart felt differently. So from point on, I have found my faith, my strength, my family, and my career. And to answer that question, I asked myself, when I left the facility, one day I was talking to my father, who's also my counselor, by the way. I said, Dad, why me? Why did I go through this period, difficult time in my life? I'm a very good girl, I do everything. And then he said, why not you? Because this life, God sent us here to be tested every single day. And this was one of your tests, and it's not gonna be the last. So that's what I wanted to share it with you.
Now, I'd like to stand up.
Oh, by the way, I've been clean for almost 4 years.
What do I do now? Is it gonna work like that? Yeah. Okay. I don't hear myself. Do you hear me? Good afternoon. I am Miyase Katırcıoğlu. and I am here to talk about making choices in our lives and its impact throughout the life. I was born and raised in Turkey in a small village, as green as Seattle, and guess what? It's as rainy as Seattle. From birth to college years, I lived in Turkey. When we all were little, choices were made for us. Don't go near fire, you'll get burned. Did you remember to say thank you and please? Right? We all get that, right, when we are little. Then, as we gain independence, we start making our own choices. That was the norm in my house that I grew up. When I was in high school, I started questioning my identity, who I am, how I am supposed to be, because I was a good student. In order to be a good student, you work hard. And I was doing all that. And my other identity was, I was born to a Muslim family, and I was a Muslim by then. So I made a choice to wear a headscarf then. My sister didn't, I did. I said, if Muslim girl is supposed to look like this, I will do it. Just like I work hard to get good grades, right? So after I finished college, I moved to North America. I lived in different places from coast to coast, like many immigrants, and including state of New York. Yes, I experienced 9/11 within about 30-mile proximity from Twin Towers, like north of it. That day, when I saw on TV screen, we decided to turn TV off. We had a 5-year-old in the house just to protect her from the violent screen. Trying to process, was it a movie? Or this is really real. And since we are too close, we kept hearing the news. Such neighbor got stuck in subway, and some parents are looking for their children in college, and all that experience that day. Then I got a phone call from my mosque asking for volunteers because demand was so high that they couldn't catch up with people from place of worships, libraries, schools, community centers. They were trying to put the community together, so they were asking my help. I just said thank you and I hung up the phone. I didn't know what to do. Then phone rings again. That's my neighbor and lovely friend. We had same-year-old kids, and we used to meet at playground, go out for lunch. So my friend Christina, my lovely and very first friend when I moved to New York, she is on the phone. She is asking me if I need a grocery. She never asked me before. She says, I can come with you to grocery shopping. I said, what's going on? Thank you. She said, you didn't see on TV that there are plenty of Muslim women's headscarf? I didn't know why. I said, thank you, Chris, I appreciate it. I hung up the phone. I'm still processing and thinking and thinking. I realized that apparently people were in public were identifying me with those who committed the tragedy. That just didn't give me any other choice but to join the movement to rebuild the community. With that, believe it or not, I became a community organizer, trainer, event planner, you name it. Chef, I didn't cook much. So bake, all that. But believe it or not, those were the days and the moments I made my lifetime friends from all walks of life. All walks of life. Wearing a headscarf wasn't that easy after all. Wherever you go, people look at you 1 time, 2 times, they just look, they go and turn back. But, you know, first time I found it cool to wear a headscarf, I have to admit, it was still cool too. Even under that condition, I found it cool. So I am in Walmart. This woman that I came across with, she's just coming right across, straight to me. She said, "Why are you wearing that?" I said, "What is it?" She said, that. She's pointing to the ceiling. I knew what she is asking for. I said, "I don't see anything. What is it?" And then she walks away. I walk away. Next aisle, same story. "Why are you wearing that?" "What is it?" That. And the third time, when she was coming right across, she looked very confident, and I knew that was something big coming up. She said, "I know why you are wearing it, because you're a Muslim. Look, I am Catholic. I am supposed to wear it too. I choose not to." I said, Thank you for helping me to say that. Believe me, that's all I want. I want to practice my choice." She walks away again. She stood a bit, I have to say. She looked at me a little bit. She was puzzled. She walked away. I walked away. I said, "Okay, I am not hanging in here. I let me go and just make the payment and leave Walmart." So as I went to the cashier. I lined up. There she is again, stared at me. So as soon as she sees me, she starts dancing around. "Islam, Islam." Everybody stopped what they are doing, cashiers, employees, just watching her. And I said, choice that I made in high school, entertaining the whole Walmart crew, employees and the customers right here. And I said, that was really a cool choice too. And here I am, sharing with you this story about my choice back in high school. What are your choices? Is it sacred, cool like mine, inspiring the woman dance and sing, also entertaining? Thank you for having me here.
Okay, let's see if I know how to put this on. Okay. Hello, and peace be upon you. My name is Zarbi Kakar. I ran a few minutes late, did a few circles before I found this place, but I found it at the end, thanks to Anila's help. I am a proud American Muslim woman. I love doing arts and craft and science projects and traveling with my children. I have been married to a wonderful man for the past 20 years, and together we have raised 4 beautiful children. I am also a full-time student, and I work as a teacher at Edmond Community College. So I'm a student just like all of you. I came to the United States when I was 10 years old to escape the warfare. I left behind my siblings and my life after the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. The sharp and ear-splitting sounds of rockets and bombs dropping still echoes in my ears every New Year's and 4th of July when the fireworks goes off. I have been struggling with this and trying to forget these sounds almost all my life. My mother made the most excruciating decision that any mother could ever make, leaving the life that she knew and my older siblings so that she could save the younger ones. We walked for weeks at night to the border of Pakistan, and along the way, I witnessed real human cost of war, even as a young child. No child should ever experience at such tender age the bloodshed of war and politics. As a mother myself now, I have come to understand the fears and struggles that my mother experienced. She sacrificed everything for freedom, peace, and better future for her children. For the past 35 years, we have proudly called the United States our home and our country. But what's happening to our country today, with the growing Islamophobia and increase in crimes and attacks on Muslims, especially those that are visible like myself? It is making me question our safety. I am now experiencing sleepless nights, just like how my mother did. Concern for the future of my children and having nightmares where I'm begging the authorities not to take my children away from me. It especially hurts after the attack on New Zealand. I remember that day my children asking me questions about the attack. I decided I had to take the children to the mosque for Friday prayers in hope that the community and through faith we could find answers together and be in a safe place. The solidarity that day from our non-Muslim neighbors, that actually filled us with so much hope, and it was exactly what my children and I needed. American Muslims share the same hopes and dreams and should be allowed the same religious freedom as any other American. I have lived here long enough to understand that we have far more in common than differences. Regardless of religion, regardless of race and our backgrounds. I work hard every single day to make our communities in a better place so that I can pass down the same hope to my children as my mother did to me. My faith teaches me optimism and resilience, even in the face of hate and hurt. And I am absolutely honored today to be here with all of you who want to learn about your neighbors. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to each one of you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions you'd like to ask beforehand? Maybe I'll start us off. So thank you all for your stories. What a gift. So generous. Thank you for coming and for sharing those powerful stories with us. So I heard a little bit about Ramadan, and I'm just wondering maybe to follow up with that for all the panelists. There are two amazing holidays, two Eids, which I always kind of, I think one's Eid al-Fitr and one's Eid al-Adha. But what would it be like with your families during one of the Eids? What might you eat together, or what might you do? So could you each speak about what matters during one of these holidays?
Oh yeah, forgot. My Eid tradition, I don't remember much from Afghanistan, but I remember my mother would try to make it as much as possible because she had missed home so much. She would, for the last 3 days before Eid was coming, she would sing to herself Eid songs in both Pashto and Farsi. She would be singing these songs. So now I remember myself, she taught me how to drum. I think it was her way of keeping the traditions, and whenever she would be sad about my siblings that were left back home, she would make poems, and those poems would turn into songs. And that's how the way we started. If we were making sweets, desserts, whatever we were making to prepare for the end of Ramadan, we would do it through songs. And the other most exciting part was she loved to sew. And I remember my brother taking us across the border to Vancouver, Canada, and she would find the material that she would need. And we would choose, it was my niece and myself that was here. We would choose our materials, and she would say, you know what? You guys will not know what I'm making for you. Whatever I make, that's what you're wearing. And I love the smell of henna. Henna marks the happiness. And I would ask her, could we do design? She said, well, you'll have to go to sleep. When you wake up, you'll have a design on your hand. Well, her form of design was just like our dresses. She would slap the henna on your hand. And you woke up, as I would wake up in the morning, whatever it was, there was henna all over my hand. So the henna is a tradition that till this day I would wake up with the excitement of what's on my hand and what kind of outfit is ready for me in the morning.
That's beautiful. I grew up in a home with 4 other siblings, big family. I'm the oldest. On a week before, maybe more than that even, it is a word that every day is and every night's conversation in our home, the way that I grew up. My mother would start making decisions, just like you. So what we are gonna wear, and she would sew or knit if it's in winter for us, whichever way is affordable. 5 kids, she's making all that calculations. So some Eids, I may have only shoe, new, nothing else, or repeat shoe, or fixed blouse from my mother's early years. So she would wash them if they are not new, iron them, and then put next to our bed a day before. So all 5 kids, they have their clothing set next to us, and shoes are right next to them. My father would go to the prayer in the morning. We won't go. We are still sleeping, getting ready to greet my father. So when he comes from a prayer, we all line up. We look through the window. Oh, there he comes. So we help mom make the breakfast table. Then we line up at the door one by one, and he would just walk in and kiss each one of us, from youngest to the oldest. And then he would give us, little money, whatever he has in his pocket. And then we would sit next to him. Another tradition was youngest of the family would sit next to him at the dinner table and breakfast table. And then we would rush to clean up the table. Everyone helps, so we clean up the table. Then our neighbors come to wish Eid Mubarak, or relatives come. So those are the loveliest times that I still remember. Here we just, we have a community. I don't have any family member in North America. So we would go to the mosque. We would prepare, again, days before, and dress up as nice as possible, go to the mosque and just hug people and wish Eid Mubarak. I look forward to it.
Yes.
In Eid back home, I was very young. I don't remember that much, but I remember one thing. Since my parents had 8 daughters, actually 7, and they adopted 1, so that was 8 of us. My mom, when Ramadan is in 10 days, she would go to a local, what do they call those people who make the dresses?
Like a tailor?
Yes, definitely, sorry, brain is frozen. Tailor, and she will just make us dresses. All of us the same color, the same look, the same design. Oh yeah, because, exactly. Because then she knew we would fight. If somebody's wearing red and that one is wearing blue, oh my God, why did you do that? So she would just go ahead and everybody the same. The same shoes, the same hair design, and that was it. So here is totally different. So everybody has grown. Some of us left the house and got married and have children. So what we do is that in the morning when we wake up, everybody, we, first of all, about 5-6 days ago, the family would have a family meeting of what to cook. And trust me, it's a feast. My aunt will come, my mom, my other auntie, my cousins, the women would take this kind of a meeting, and then they will decide who is gonna cook and who's gonna cook what on that day. So in the morning when we wake up, we'll dress the kids up. Thank God my kids, they don't have to go through what I went through. They have their choices of clothing, and then we have our gifts. So we'll take the gift with us before we go to mosque and drop it off at grandma's house, or we'll take the gift with us. We wrap gift days before for everybody in the family. And then we'll end it up at grandpa and grandma's home. Everybody, after they come back from the mosque, will start eating sweets. So this is how it goes, like a 5-course food. we'll eat the sweets. It's like a buffet of spread of sweets. And that was baked 5 days ago. Like every day it was baked. Then we'll have a breakfast. It's another buffet. Then we'll have a lunch and dinner. It's another buffet. Then it's another dinner. Then it's another. So after Eid, you are in a food coma.
Well, you're making up for the calories you lost a whole month ago.
Exactly. I know.
Maybe.
Like a. So, yeah, everything is basically the same. The only difference that I noticed was I have a younger sister. She and I are 11 years apart. So watching her grow up, I noticed what a big influence Christmas had in her life and how much she admired Christmas and the whole idea of like the magicalness and all the movies and all the cutesy stuff that comes with Christmas. And I wanted to replicate that when it came to Eid, so I went out of my way and tried to decorate our home to create sort of that same vibe. We don't have a Eid tree because that's weird.
Some people do.
But to each your own. To each your
Some people
own.
have Christmas trees.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Like
For
some
Eid?
Muslims have even during Christmas.
Oh, I'm
Some
aware.
Muslims, yeah. Just you guys
But we just decided to wrap presents and keep it in front of the fireplace because in Texas you don't use that. It's all decor. So we would keep presents and we wake up in the morning. Yep, same. Like it's Islamically, well, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that for Eid you have to get up, you have to shower, be clean. If you don't have new clothes, wear washed, clean clothes, and then go out and pray the Eid prayer with your friends and family and whatever. So my aunt from Pakistan would send us new clothes every Eid, and she felt it personally offensive if we wore something more than once. So if we weren't wearing something new, she was offended. So we'd be wearing new things, and then like the most momentous Eid that I remember is like our outfits were not simple. If you've ever seen South Asian outfits, they are blinged out, like glitter and gems and all the sequins you could ever imagine in that, like arts and crafts in one outfit. So I was every year and to this day still wearing the most magnificent outfits, and like you said, my mom couldn't be bothered with like cooking on Eid because she said, I'm celebrating too, I don't have time for this. So we would just kind of do like a potluck buffet brunch, and one year I was destined to do the bagel run, so I went in my full outfit to Einstein's to pick up bagels, and this little girl sees me walk in and she, like, her eyes widen and she goes to her dad, she's like, is that a princess?
I've had the same question.
And I was like, yes, the bagel princess has arrived. So, and then after that, because we were trying to make Eid more than just like sitting around and eating, basically trying to make it more than a glorified cheat day, we decided to go go-karting. And I thought, you know, maybe we should change. But then my aunt called and was very offended at the idea of me changing into boring people clothes. So I went, my friends and I went in our fabulously decked out outfits go-karting. Like, we sat in the go-kart, then folded our clothes in and tucked everything that could fly out. And then we went go-karting. It was ridiculous, but it was so fun. So one of many stories.
Is it working? I don't, maybe. So I have a little bit of a different perspective because I don't come from a Muslim family, so we don't have like I don't have like Muslim culture traditions that were passed down to me. My husband's from the Gulf, Arabian Gulf, so, but I mean, a lot of guys are more or less into like celebration. They just kind of do their duties, and the women are like decorating. So I've spent a lot of time trying to incorporate some of, like she was saying, I think my experience probably is most closely related to yours, just trying to decorate the home. And also for Ramadan, I mean, we don't just do Eid. Like, a lot of us are right now, because Ramadan's in like a month, we're prepping our homes, we're cleaning our homes, we're tidying them up, we're getting rid of things we don't need. We're creating spaces in our homes that are like extra special for prayer, for night prayers, if we don't go to the mosque or can't or whatever. So that's, I mean, Ramadan in of itself, we have our own traditions. Like there's certain things that I make, like I make this Libyan soup. Like we're not Libyan, but my husband's addicted to it and I am too. So every Ramadan, I make this Libyan soup. It's super yummy. I make sambusas, which are just super fattening. I do not eat them any other time of the year. And then one thing that's really different maybe for my Eid is that because I've been selling modest fashion since the year 2000, one of the biggest sale days for those of us who sell hijabs and stuff is the day of Eid, even though people already have their outfits. I don't know what it's about exactly because we're already wearing our new outfits, but I know. One place that a lot of Muslims go to is the convention center. So a couple mosques sort of team up, rent the convention center, and literally there's like 10,000 Muslims that come from all different backgrounds. It's like super awesome, especially if you want to see like a cultural, like a legit cultural experience. You'll see every kind of person, which is just amazing. And I would be that person getting there at the crack of dawn with all my hijabs and abayas and dresses. And there's always some single brother who would be like in the parking lot and be like, hey sister, can I help you? I'm like, I'm married already, but you're welcome to help me carry all my stuff. And I would do that with a couple other sisters. And it became, I haven't done it as much lately because online, thank God. But you were just carting all this stuff and then, you rush to pray and then you come back. And there's just like this sea of women that are like haggling you and negotiating. And so for a long time, that was my Eid tradition, was selling hijabs at the local, I swear, isn't that funny? And then I get home and I'm like, how much money is my husband going to give me for Eid? I give him nothing, he gives me something. Anyway, and I'm not a sweets person, so I feel kind of sorry for him because I don't really bake or anything. So he's always like, where's the kunafa? Where's this? I'm like, Walmart. Talk to one of our Egyptian sisters because I don't bake. So I don't know, that's a little bit about my tradition just because it's different. And actually when I first became Muslim, Ramadan was in December. And Can you explain why Ramadan? Yeah, so for people who don't know, we follow a lunar calendar like Orthodox Jews do. And so our calendar is about 11 days shorter than the solar calendar, the Gregorian calendar. So Ramadan is a month in that calendar, in that lunar calendar, and so it just shifts every single year. So when I first became a Muslim, we were fasting in December. The days were really short. So I was starting fasting at like 6:30, ending at 4:30. I'm like, this is so easy. And then year after year after year, I was like, this is less easy and less easy. And then I think last Ramadan was our longest days ever. So at least here, we were starting our fast before 3 o'clock in the morning and we were finishing at 9:30. And then if you add in like night prayers at the mosque and then trying to fit like a pre-dawn meal in before 3 a.m., I mean, it was like, oh, like all of us were zombies. And it's gonna be a while until we get out of the zombie mode, I think, for Ramadan. So if you see a Muslim coworker during Ramadan, just have a little compassion. If they're not on their game, they, miss some numbers, whatever that might be. I know that during Ramadan, when I was working in corporate America, people would literally, because I'm a very gregarious, annoying personality, during Ramadan, people thought I was depressed. Literally, they come in, they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "It's Ramadan." They're like, "Oh, okay," because it's like you're tired, you're thirsty, you're just also very focused, and it's encouraged during the month of Ramadan and when you're fasting not to talk a lot. So you're just sort of like, I'm in my office, like, doing my thing. And anyways, I wrote a couple of pieces if anyone's interested about religious accommodation in the workplace, because I worked for an HR research consultancy for a long time. And also on Ramadan 2.0, because there's a lot of things that people do not know that are not Muslim. They, if you see someone not fasting, then you're like, oh my God, they're like a wayward Muslim, So I had to explain certain things like we don't fast on our menses, on our cycle, which, you know, that was always a fun conversation when your male coworkers like, I thought you were fasting. It's like, oh, I have my period. Do you need to know that? Probably not. But you tell them anyway. So anyway.
Now you know.
I know, now you know, they're like, I probably didn't want to know that, but.
Like, well, you asked.
I know, exactly. Actually, I used to have a coworker who used to come in and if he thought I was doing something not Islamic, he would be like, I'm calling the Quran cops on you. I'm like, there's no such thing, but okay. I know. That was the 90s. Anyways, here you go. Oh, you're holding my water.
Yeah, of course it fell.
I like it, the corn cups.
So, one more question. We're not always as familiar in this community, Christian university, about historical people in the Quran. So I was wondering if you could mention who is a woman in the Quran that you admire, whether it's Aisha or Fatima. Could you tell us a little bit about one person, or Mary, or Eve, or whoever? Could you tell us a little bit about one historical figure in the Quran?
Gosh, there's so many. Where do I start? For me, I think just off the top of my head, it would be Khadija, Prophet Muhammad's first wife. And actually, she was much older than him when he married her, and she was divorced. And it was his first wife. And the reason why she inspires me is because as a woman, as a Muslim woman, she empowers me in so many ways. She, at that time, she was a business owner. She was actually, Prophet Muhammad actually worked for her. So when there's so many stories in the media that Muslim women, they don't have the right to work, they don't have the right to go to school, they don't have the right to this or that, that immediately comes to my mind. I am now 43 years old. 4 children later, I decided to complete my education. And my husband had to stand behind me, because when he was going through medical school, I put everything on hold in order to put him through school. And I held him to that promise. Why did I hold him to that promise? Because Khadija gave me that right to do. And Islam tells you from the cradle till the grave, your learning does not stop from the moment you are born till the moment you are put in your grave. Your learning does not stop. And how could I preach that to my children, and especially my daughter, if mom is not doing it? So Khadija has always been my role model.
I would echo the same. That was beautiful. I would say Aisha is one of the very magnificent figure in Islamic history. One of the things that she did with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was they used to race who is passing who. I think that's very cool as couples. I always remember, whenever I see people running out there, I see, oh my God, I want to see Aisha, how she did. She was also brilliant. She was a brilliant girl. She narrated most, in hadith we call it, it's narration from Prophet, peace be upon him, and passed on to the next generations. And it's a reliable resource since she's close to him. She tops everybody in narration, and that's why she's my hero.
I'm going to second to that. Aisha, it's also one of my hero in the Quran, in Islamic history. Aisha, she was the Prophet's younger wife. Yeah, wasn't she?
Yeah, no, she didn't say, so I didn't want to make sure everyone knows.
Oh, Aisha, yeah. Yeah. She was the last wife also. And the reason why I like her, and my sister said it, was she have narrated more hadith than any other man, well, one man, any other female in the history of Islam. And one of the things I like about her was that she was a very opinionated woman. Mm-hmm. She was never afraid if she wants to say something, she would have just said it. And she was friend to her husband, the Prophet. And they were friends. They had this very amazing, intimate friendship that most couples today that they don't have that. I mean, we are living in a time where divorces are happening left and right, especially in my community. In the Somali within the Somali community, 90% of my peers are divorced and single mothers. And in Islam, yes, divorces are permissible. And by the way, women can divorce her husband in Islam. She can initiate it, actually. But what I liked about Aisha was that she was this friend to her husband. She would give him ideas. She would support him 100%. And she also would support women, period. In my work, as some of my friends know in the community, I love supporting women. Because I don't know, somehow I just love supporting women. I don't know, some people say, why are you always supporting female? I'm like, well, I'm a woman. Why not?
To your dad.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm like, exactly, sister power. I have 8 sisters, for God's sake. So that was one of the things, and my husband is revert, like Michaela. Did I say that right name? Michaela, yeah. Yeah. So him and I will sit together and study the history of Islam. And whenever we come across Aisha or biography, what she did or the time she did, I will mimic it. You know, like the kissing, like before Prophet Muhammad will leave the house, he would kiss her in the forehead. And I made my husband to kiss me every single day.
I do the same thing.
To kiss me on my forehead, even when I'm asleep. So, thank you.
All of those things.
Yeah, right. Ditto.
Thank you. No I'm kidding. On Wednesday, we were reading something about. So there's a chapter in the Quran just dedicated to Mary, who was the mother of Jesus, peace be upon him, who is a prophet that we all in Islam recognize and love and value. But more importantly, his mother. One of the stories one of the verses that we were highlighting was, I think the exact verse was, no male, like something about men and women are not the same. And I was kind of confused on where this verse came from, or in context, basically. And what we learned was the reason, the story behind this verse was when the mother of Mary was pregnant with her, she was expecting a boy. And she had prayed to God for a boy because she said that, hey, if I have a boy, I'm going to dedicate him in your worship. I'm going to send him to the temple to learn and be the best follower of you that he can possibly be. So when she found out that it was a girl, when Mary's mom found out when Mary was born, the reason I learned why that was very purposeful was because religion was very secluded to intellectual male at the time, and by bringing Mary into this picture, it was God's way of saying, or kind of opening that space within the community of allowing women to also step into that role, because Mary's mother had said that I'm going to dedicate my child into your religion. She kind of had no choice but to push Mary along the same path, and she was one of the first most educated scholars within her community. So that was something very cool that I learned on Wednesday, and now you have learned it too.
The other part of that story too is that when God says that what was the verse exactly?
Something around like men and women are not the same.
They are not the same, and like God knows best. If Mary were a male, if Mary was Mario, he would not have given birth. She would not have given birth to Jesus, right? Ultimately. So if you think about that, that's that other, like the second part of that. Yeah, it's totally full circle. Yeah, every single thing that in my journey to Islam, the stories of the women in Islam were a huge pivotal point in me deciding to become Muslim. Aside from just the theology and focus on the oneness of God, I remember growing up, and my family were cattle ranchers. We have a cattle brand. It's a Flying C for Corning. So, I mean, my last name Corning, it's like I will never be anything but a Corning. And when I was thinking about, I at one time was dating this Iranian guy, not a Muslim, and he had this really weird last name, and I was like, oh, because we thought we were gonna get married, and I'm like, I'm gonna have that last name, like just so, like, it just sounded really bad. It just sounded very bad. I won't even say why. And then when I started learning about Islam, I'm like, oh, Muslim women, we're not supposed to change our last name. I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm gonna be a Corning until I die. Like, I'm Michaela Corning. I'm not Michaela Habib or whatever Smith. I mean, whoever, could have married a convert myself. So that was a huge, for me, I was like, yeah, I'm always a Corning. Like, I just can't. And when my sister got married, I felt sort of like, you're gonna change your last name? Like, just like so annoying to me. No offense to anybody who changes their last name, but that was just a huge, I'm like, wow, like that's super empowering. Like at the end of the day, you are your individual person, and lineage is a really important part of you as a human being, like understanding where you come from. And I just loved that concept. And being that I was baptized Catholic and grew up, in the church more or less, the fact that a chapter in the Quran is titled Mary, that she's talked about so much in the Quran, and also just the stories of Jesus are very, very, I encourage you guys, I'm not trying to proselytize here, but literally if you get a chance to read the verse or the chapter about Mary and about Jesus, alayhi salam, peace be upon them both, it is very, very, very moving. It talks about, God talks about how Jesus was an infant and how he spoke in the cradle, which is something that I don't think is actually in the Bible. And so those things were very moving to me as someone who was previously a Christian and then ended up becoming Muslim. I actually have a funny story. I have to share this because I have a girlfriend. One of my best friends was Jewish and became Muslim. And one of you was, the Walmart story. I don't go to Walmart because, for a variety of reasons, but people are either talking about me in English, don't think I speak English, or they're talking about me in Spanish, don't realize I speak Spanish. So I just avoid that place altogether. But I have a girlfriend was Jewish and became Muslim, and she was walking around Walmart, and some lady came up to her and was like, you need to accept Jesus in your heart. And she goes, I was a Jew before, I didn't even believe in Jesus, so now I do, I'm a Muslim. She was like, oh. Okay. So, again, assumptions, right? Anyways, the Walmart story is just too much. So, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Don't go to Walmart.
Real quick, can I say something real quick? So growing up, we have to, in Sunday school, you read the Quran, but it doesn't always resonate with you because it was originally written in Arabic, and I'm not from an Arab-speaking country, so I don't know. I'm on my way to learning. We're all students here. But there is an organization in Texas called Roots. And Roots caters to college students and young professionals. And currently, they are doing a series on the chapter of the Quran about Mary. They have a podcast. We all love podcasts. So if you are interested, the parent organization is called Qalam Institute, QALAM, and you can find them right away. And then the series is called Heartworks, and that's all over the chapter in the Quran that's about the Mary. And it's very, very fun, and it's because it's made in Dallas, there's a lot of Dallas jokes, but it's fine.
Lots of y'alls?
A lot of y'alls. The teachers from Tennessee, it's great. And it's very, very, interesting, and it's overall very, moving to listen to, a lot of lightheartedness. So just if you're feeling a little bit down and would like to listen to it, I listen to it over the weekends. It makes me feel better.
Check that out.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's very good. And the scholar who does it is his name is Abdurrahman Murphy. His dad is a convert, and he's a very chill guy, and I'm trying to get him to come out here. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah.
You want to give it to
So thank you to all of you. I just wanted to point out, sorry, this is kind of stuck. I just wanted to mention a few other things that for this panel, we wanted to just kind of get a broad spectrum of the American Muslim community. And you have a representative sample here. In terms of ethnic diversity, actually the American Muslim community is the most diverse religious community in our country. There is no majority race in Islam. You have a little bit of that variety on display here. I also wanted to point out that about half of American Muslim women in our country choose to wear the head covering and half do not. So we chose everybody here wearing a head covering because the title of this panel was Beyond the Veil. And we wanted you to get a chance to hear from some women who wear the veil, but hear their stories beyond just the veil, the physical manifestation that people oftentimes are so obsessed with initially. So that's why this panel is there, but I don't want you to think that, oh my God, Muslim women have to wear the veil or they all wear the veil, because it's only about 50% who do. And then finally, you heard a little bit about Ramadan and Eid. Ramadan starts this year, May 6th. Michaela, you are far more ahead of things. You made me feel like I'm so behind if you're talking about preparing for Ramadan already. I have not even done anything yet. But the beautiful thing about Ramadan is it is a wonderful time of community. And we invite all of you to join us. You know, I'm with the Muslim Association of Puget Sound in Redmond, and you are all welcome to join us. Hopefully some of you will be there tomorrow for the program we have at MAPS. But any other time, you know, there's a big interfaith iftar on May 15th. You're all welcome to join us for that. And so many other opportunities throughout our state in terms of different mosques doing interfaith iftar programs. It's a wonderful way to just come together and break bread together and continue having these kinds of opportunities to just get to know your neighbors and hopefully have them get to know you a little bit as well. So I just wanted to mention those as well before I pass it off to Professor Kim and just say thank you again to all of you, to all the panelists, and of course to Professor Kim.